Good morning, good evening, good night. EagleMMA Family. This is MMA YouTubers as Breaking Bad.
Say my name.
MMA Guru.
You're damn right.
Alright, so first up to any of you old heads who are literally living in the year 2010, who don't know what Breaking Bad is, it is a television show about a overqualified high school chemistry teacher who is diagnosed with lung cancer and decides to break bad and start cooking amphetamine. That's the story. Right, also, if you guys are feeling a little underwhelmed with the UFC right now and for, this kind of whole month, basically, make sure you check out these YouTubers, right? Some GOATs. This is what I watch on MMA YouTube. Lost MMA, Magic 7, also known as Gnome Jad, so many more. But let's get into the main character of Breaking Bad, Walter White, Heisenberg, MMA Guru. Right, so if we're talking about Walter White, we're talking about Heisenberg. If we're talking about Heisenberg, we're talking about amphetamine production. And Walter White's whole, his whole defense of cooking methamphetamine and continuing to cook is, oh, I have to do it. I have to do it to supply for my family. I have to be the provider. MMA Guru says, I have to do $2 homoerotic impressions. I have to do them. The people are paying me. Wrong.
It was perfect, but no, you just had to blow it up. You and your pride and your ego. You just had to be the man. If you'd done your job, known your place, we'd all be fine right now.
It's all about pride, ego, and power. Walter White is a very insecure man, so he feels as though he has to keep cooking in order to be a masculine figure. MMA Guru is so insecure he feels like he has to do $2 homoerotic impressions because it's the people's money.
Please just hear me out, please.
Right, also recently, a recent discovery is MMA Guru literally has alopecia. He literally has alopecia, which means you lose your hair, which means you become bald, like Walter White Heisenberg becoming bald. I mean, listen, I could run in circles pointing out the similarities between Walter White and MMA Guru, but Walter White would not be Heisenberg if it wasn't for Jesse Pinkman, who is Rigo. Right, Rigo, Jesse Pinkman was already a miskin youth. Jesse Pinkman was already in the business, but he was corrupted even further, and he was basically forced into going even deeper, right? Walter White threatened Jesse Pinkman that if he wasn't going to cook with Walter White, he was going to turn him into the police. So Walter White, or Guru, forced Rigo, Jesse Pinkman, into this life and fully embraced him into the deeper, darker, higher level side of the amphetamine business. He does all this. Walter White always feeling as though he's better than Jesse Pinkman. Oh, the reason he keeps Jesse Pinkman around for the entire show, not because he has a good relationship with them, where he feels like Jesse Pinkman is his son. It's because he feels as though Jesse Pinkman is beneath him, and he is so prideful. He is such an egomaniac that he has to have someone that he sees as below him, around him, to keep his ego. Right, not only that, but in the last season of Breaking Bad, in the desert where Hank gets capped, Walter White completely sells out Jesse Pinkman. Jesse Pinkman is hiding under a car. Walter White literally sells him into slavery, into a Nazi gang. He literally sold him into slavery to a Nazi gang. Right, absolutely backstabbed him. Literally the exact same way MMA Guru completely backstabbed Rigo, right? Calling him a PDF file, saying he's a 50-50 non-doxer or whatever. Knowing this is untrue, Walter White, knowing Jesse Pinkman turned on him because he poisoned a child, Brock, for anybody that don't know, that haven't watched the show. Right, but hey, listen, all of this, right? Walter White is the one that ends up, clocking out. Jesse Pinkman is ultimately the winner at the very end of the story. He's the one with the money. He's the one who survives out of literally anybody in the entire story. Right, listen, Jesse Pinkman wouldn't be Jesse Pinkman if it wasn't for these 3 quick honorable mentions. Skinny Pete and Badger, or Badger MMA and Mogwonk, right? They're Jesse Pinkman's jits, they're Rigo's jits, and Jane, right? Jane, one of the biggest storylines in the entirety of Breaking Bad is Fight Fairy. I think that's the most obvious one. I think that's literally the most obvious one. Jesse Pinkman and Jane are Rigo and Fight Fairy. But I was mentioning this character specifically when I was talking about Jesse Pinkman being betrayed by Walter White. Hank Schrader. Who is Hank Schrader? It is Bedtime MMA. Right? Hank Schrader is Walter White Heisenberg's brother-in-law. He's been around Walter White since the entirety of his reign of terror. Bedtime MMA has been around MMA Guru for the entire time. Right until finally Hank Schrader takes a poopy and sees that Walter White has a book signed by Gail Bedecker in his bathroom. Obviously, Bedtime MMA, almost forgot his name there. Obviously, Bedtime MMA has not discovered the crux, right? The book, so to speak, that proves MMA Guru is a terrible person, but that is coming very soon, and Bedtime will turn on MMA Guru. And you heard me mention Gail Bedecker, right? One of the GOATs, the greatest character in all of television history. Gail Bedecker has the greatest taste of music of all time. Who is Gail Bedecker? Gail Bedecker's Lucas Tracy, right? The real heir to the throne for the amphetamine business, right? He is the true, real competitor, right? He had 96%. Walter White had 99%. He ultimately became Walter White's assistant until Guru threw him back out. Walter White threw him back out in place of Jesse Pinkman or Rigo. Right, independently successful. Gail Bedecker, like I said, was already a chemist. He was already making insanely pure good stuff. Lucas Tracy has already gotten what Lucas Tracy did not get any help from MMA Guru. He was already successful without him. He could have excelled. He could have, gone to stardom. He could have shot to stardom if Guru Walter White actually took him in and helped him, but they rejected him in favor for someone who they thought as weaker, who they thought as more beneath them, like Jesse Pinkman or Rigo. And speaking of Gail Bedecker, let's talk about his absolute bestie. Gail Bedecker's bestie is Mike Ehrmantraut, one of the greatest characters in television history. Who is Mike Ehrmantraut? It is obviously it is James Lynch. Right, the old vet, the stubborn old vet who always just seems to get it done. He is also technically working with MMA Guru or Walter White, but absolutely despises him. You see this when him, Jesse, and Walter all team up together post Gus Fring, unaliving, and they start their own business, and even being a legitimate partner and having to work with Walter White constantly, he still has a vendetta against him. He still has an absolute vitriolic hatred for him. Right, and James Lynch was working with Guru. He had Guru on a podcast, right? He's with Guru and still just absolutely despises him, absolutely hates him, and does his own thing, right? Mike Ehrmantraut eventually, later on in the show, goes against MMA Guru or Walter White and does not give him the names of people that would be able to, rat out Heisenberg. So MMA Guru, Walter White, does shoot and off him. James Lynch finally is going against MMA Guru. He's finally going against him, as mentioned in my Eagle's Nest podcast. Go check it out. So we are literally in the midst of MMA Guru against James Lynch, right? MMA Guru is going to attack James Lynch very, very soon. But let's talk about the guy who hired Mike Ehrmantraut, Gustavo Fring. Gus Fring is the Weasel. Right, another easy one, right? The OG big dog. He is the OG. He's like one of the first real MMA YouTubers who had any success at all. Gus Fring has been in the business, and they're both the big dogs. Gus Fring is the leader of the entire amphetamine business, and eventually wipes out the Salamancas. So it is Gus Fring's meth and Gus Fring's meth only. He has a monopolic empire. The Weasel has a monopolic empire. I don't even know. That might not even be the right word for monopoly. He has a monopoly empire. Whatever the fuck, right? But both of them are calculated. They're both autistic. They both are the big dogs. But hey, let's talk about another villain in the show. Tuco Salamanca is Jesse on fire, right? They're both literal stim addicts.
Tight, yeah!
Right? They are both fucking crazy. And guess what? They are both some of the best comedic relief, right? Tuco Salamanca was one of the best comedic reliefs in Breaking Bad history. Jesse on Fire is the best comedic relief from all this MMA YouTube bullshit. Right? And literally, as we saw, MMA Guru and Jesse on Fire had a partnership. They had MMA on Fire. Walter White had a deal with Tuco to give him the meth for money to distribute. And guess what? MMA Guru Walter White betrayed Tuco Salamanca, Jesse on Fire, and eventually ended him. Because of a dispute over a contract. Right, but let's be honest. None of any of this would have ever happened throughout the entire show of Breaking Bad if none of these people went through a specific lawyer. Maybe they went through a lawyer, and maybe his name was Jimmy McGill. You better call Saul. Oh, who is Saul Goodman? If you did not guess that Eagle MMA is Saul Goodman, you need to unsubscribe from the fucking channel and get your lazy ass out of here. That is the most clear comparison. Saul Goodman, Better Call Saul is Eagle MMA. Right, I am the real crux of the entire story. Saul Goodman is the real crux throughout the entire, the entirety of Breaking Bad. Walter White would have never gotten Gus Fring if it wasn't for Saul Goodman. Also, Saul Goodman is like literally the stereotypical greasy, fucking suds, greasy fucking under the fucking bridge. This fucking sleazy, sly, slick fucking lawyer. He's got a big mouth. He's always able to talk his way in and out of things. I'm literally describing myself at this point. He's obsessed with money. He's obsessed with scams. He's literally slipping Jimmy.
I know what you were, what you are. People don't change. You're slipping Jimmy.
But I am literally slipping Jimmy. His whole thing was scams. His whole thing was pulling scams. I literally scammed my entire audience about 6 or 7 times, and guess what? I still come back and make money. It's the most clear-cut comparison out of the entire fucking show. Right, and also, if you want to talk about, what Better Call, whatever the fucking, what the fuck is the prequel? Yeah, the prequel is Better Call Saul, and Better Call Saul, Jimmy McGill, who is Saul Goodman's real name, has a very close relationship with another lady, a fine lady, Kim. My Kim is obviously MMA Maddie. MMA Maddie, if you're watching this video, we need to collab. But, those are all the, important characters that are, the main characters of the show. Let's get into some more background characters, right? Let's start off with Walter White's family, with his bitch. Let's start off with Walter White's bitch, his bitch wife, Skylar White. This person is lucky I'm even mentioning his Sid the Sloth-ass name. Skylar White is Left Lane MMA. Annoying bitch that nobody cares about. Right, that's all I have to say about that one. But let's get on to Flynn. Let's get into Walter White's son, Walt Jr. Walter Jr. is Lost Soul MMA. Now, Lost Soul MMA only has around 350 subscribers, but I think he deserves this because guess what? Walter Jr. is just fucking, he literally has cerebral palsy. He's retarded. You just look at Lost Soul MMA, he's retarded, and both of them literally have no clue what's going on. They have no, peripheral fucking understanding of anything that's going on around them, right? When Skylar White calls the police on Walter White, at their house, Walter Jr. is calling Skylar White a bitch and everything. Going, you're fucking bitch, mom. Why are you calling the cops on, Daddy White? And both of them fucking love breakfast, right? If you're a real Breaking Bad head, if you're a real Walter Jr. cell, you know that Walter Jr. is a massive breakfast enjoyer. His breakfast counter's in the 20s or something. But let's get on to a cold killer, a cold killer, Todd, right? Todd is the kid later on in the bug, whatever the bug shit was, when they did the fumigation shit, whatever it was. He's the one who shot the kid with the tarantula. Cool, calm killer who literally has no emotions and just is precise. That is obviously Gnome Chad. Literally an evil super villain. And, let's just get on to the next one. Right, the next one is Huel Babino, which is Kenny Okoye. I really couldn't think of one. Couldn't think of one for Kenny Okoye, and I wanted to mention him because he's... Hey, guess what? Kenny Okoye, listen, this might sound like I'm dissing Kenny Okoye, making him just Huel because they're both black or whatever, but Kenny Okoye is actually up and coming. I've actually been enjoying Kenny Okoye. He's basically just Lucas Tracy. He's literally just Lucas Tracy. But he has more melanated skin, and he's whiter. He's like Lucas Tracy if Lucas Tracy grew up in fucking the suburbs of California. And he grew up in like a two-story house trying to bang all the white chicks. Kenny Okoye, you know he's you know he likes him some snow bunnies. But let's get on to the last one. Hey, save the best for last. Hey, you know what they say? They say save the best for last. And I say the opposite. I say save the worst for last. Save the least important, the one that nobody cares about for last, because you want the first one to be the most important, right? To get the engagement, go, yeah, Meguru. The last one is Ted Beneke. Hey, if you guys are watching this right now, I want you to guess in the comments who the fuck you think Ted Beneke is, right? Who's Ted Beneke? I think this is the most obvious one. This is the most obvious one out of any of the ones I picked. It's MMA Clown Show. It's MMA Clown Show. Right? I mean, just like... Come on, right? Ted Beneke is like literally the joke. He is the joke of Breaking Bad, right? Has an affair with Skylar White. Again, you know, the other bitch, Left Lane, right? MMA Clown Show. Can I actually, before I elaborate on this, I want a personal message out to MMA Clown Show. This is the only time I'll ever say your irrelevant channel name on a video ever. You are lucky I've even mentioned you. You're lucky you're in the presence of greatness. Guess what? Hey, MMA Clown Show, right? I might show the clip right here, maybe not, because it might be too long, it might not have enough context, but MMA Clown Show was literally crashing out. MMA Clown Show was literally crashing out that I got a James Lynch interview. Hey, Clown Show, you know why you'll never get an interview? Because you're fucking annoying and you're irrelevant. Clown Show, you're irrelevant and you're a joke. You're literally a joke. You're a joke. But Ted Beneke, you know, the whole reason I picked him is he's basically a loser. He's a loser. He's divorced, has an affair with Skylar White. He's a tax evader. He's literally a tax evader. Has like literally $670,000 worth of unpaid taxes, and he gets an out. He gets the 700 fucking however many dollars paid for his taxes. Doesn't pay it. He has Huel and Kubi, who is Bill Burr, come in and make him pay it, and then he tries to run away, trips on a carpet, falls face first, and slides into a fucking counter, and breaks his neck, and now he's paralyzed from, like, the neck down. And, like, the picture of him, like, in the hospital, fully bald with, like, the skull cap on, dude, it's so crazy. But listen, that's gonna have to end it here, guys. Bit of a longer tier list. I want to say one more thing. MMA Clown Show, Left Lane MMA. You two are lucky I've even mentioned your names on this channel, and I'll never mention your names ever again because you're irrelevant. Neither of you could get an interview with James Lynch. Neither of you could get an interview with Rigo. Neither of you could ever get an interview with anybody important ever. Neither of you could get an interview with anyone important ever. Like I said, that's gonna have to do it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know down below. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications so you get my content when it comes out. Make sure you buy my memberships, $5 a month for the best content. You get 30 extra minutes of the Eagles Nest podcast. And, hey, listen, I love all you guys, right? Listen, like I said, I love all you guys, and Clown Show and Left Lane are, like, lucky. They're lucky someone as big as me and as famous and as influential as me has ever mentioned their name ever. So, hey, EagleMMA out.
Hey. Young Lean? Are you Young Lean?
What?
Are you Young Lean?
No, I'm Barry Dillon.